Lieutenant Commander Jake Harrison had been staring at the ceiling of the medical bay for exactly 43 minutes when she walked in. Not that he was counting, of course, but when your entertainment options were limited to contemplate the beige ceiling panels, or wonder if the throbbing in your left arm meant imminent amputation, you tended to develop an appreciation for precise time management. The medical frigate Aurora's grace hummed around him with the peculiar mix of human efficiency and alien precision that characterized the new interspecies cooperation protocols. Half the medical staff were human, the other half Zephyrian, and Jake was discovering that alien bedside manner was significantly more intense than he'd expected. "Your cellular regeneration is proceeding adequately," announced Nurse Kira Th as she glided into his field of vision, her silver-blue skin catching the soft medical bay lighting. Her pointed ears, longer and more delicate than the elves in human fantasy stories, twitched slightly as she studied his chart on a holographic display that materialized from seemingly nowhere. Jake tried not to stare, but 3 weeks of recovery had given him ample opportunity to observe that Zephyrian medical staff took their duties very seriously. Kira Th approached patient care with the dedication of someone defusing a bomb, which would have been flattering if it weren't slightly terrifying. "The burns are healing well," she continued, unwrapping his bandages with movements so careful Jake half expected her to apologize to each individual piece of gauze. "Though your pain management seems insufficient. Are you experiencing discomfort?" "Just the usual got too close to an exploding reactor discomfort," Jake said, attempting humor. "Nothing a few more weeks of your excellent care won't fix." Kira Th paused in her bandage unwrapping, her large violet eyes studying his face with an intensity that made him suddenly self-conscious. "You require more attentive monitoring. Your healing rate suggests inadequate rest periods. Perhaps reduced visitor access would be beneficial." "Really, I'm fine. The other patients need your attention more than I do." "Incorrect." She resumed her work, but Jake noticed her movements had become somehow more possessive, as if she were claiming territory rather than changing dressings. "Your recovery is my primary concern. Other staff can attend to other patients." Jake watched her fuss over his bandages, adjusting and readjusting them with the kind of meticulous attention usually reserved for disarming explosives or performing brain surgery. Her concern was touching, if a bit overwhelming, and reminded him uncomfortably of his ex-wife's tendency to hover during his rare sick days. "You know," he said, as she spent another 5 minutes perfecting the angle of a bandage that had been perfectly fine 30 seconds earlier, "you really don't need to worry so much. I promise I'm not going to spontaneously combust." Kira Th looked up from her work, her expression serious. "Your welfare is not a matter for casual concern. Proper healing requires vigilant care and constant attention to potential complications." The intensity in her voice, combined with the way she was studying his face as if memorizing every detail, triggered Jake's automatic deflection response, the same one that had gotten him through 2 years of marriage to someone who treated every minor inconvenience as a personal emergency. "Yes, dear," he said with gentle humor, the words slipping out before he could stop them. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Kira Th froze completely, her hand still positioned over his freshly bandaged arm, her violet eyes widening until Jake could see his own reflection in them. The soft hum of medical equipment seemed to grow louder in the sudden silence. Then her expression shifted, cycling through surprise, wonder, and something that looked suspiciously like satisfaction before settling into a smile that seemed to light up her entire face. "Mate," she said softly, as if the word carried the weight of universal truth. Jake blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" But Kira Th wasn't looking at him anymore. She was looking past him, toward the other medical staff, and Jake suddenly became aware that the background hum of activity in the medical bay had stopped entirely. He turned his head carefully, mindful of his injuries, and found himself the center of attention for approximately 12 pairs of eyes, both human and Zephyrian. Dar. Elena Vasquez, the human chief medical officer, was staring at him with the expression of someone watching a traffic accident in slow motion. The Zephyrian staff, on the other hand, were making soft chirping noises that sounded distinctly congratulatory. "Did I miss something?" Jake asked, looking between Kira Th's glowing expression and the suddenly very interested faces surrounding his medical bed. "Oh, Jake," Dr. Vasquez said, her voice mixing sympathy with barely suppressed amusement. "What exactly did you just say to Nurse Kira Th?" "I said, yes, dear. It was a joke. You know, because she was fussing over my bandages like." He trailed off as he noticed Kira Th had moved closer to his bed and was now arranging his blankets with what could only be described as proprietary satisfaction. "Lieutenant Commander Harrison," Kira Th said, her voice taking on a formal tone that somehow managed to sound both official and intimate, "I will need to adjust your meal schedule to accommodate proper nutritional requirements for your new status." "My new status?" "As my mate." Jake felt the universe tilt slightly sideways. "I'm sorry, as your what now?" Dr. Vasquez cleared her throat. "Jake, I think we need to have a conversation about Zephyrian cultural customs. Specifically, the ones related to verbal bonding protocols." "Verbal bonding protocols," Jake repeated slowly. "Those sound important. Those sound like something someone should have mentioned during the interspecies cooperation briefings." "They were in Appendix C," Dr. Vasquez said helpfully. Subsection 12. Accidental Relationship Formation in You, a Guide to Cross-Species Communication Pitfalls. "Naturally," Jake said. "Because everyone reads Appendix C." Kira Th had finished arranging his blankets and was now examining his medical chart with renewed interest, occasionally making notes that Jake was reasonably certain hadn't been there 5 minutes ago. "The good news," Dr. Vasquez continued, "is that most accidental bondings can be dissolved through simple cultural mediation. The bad news is that Zephyrian bonding customs are complex." Jake looked at Kira Th, who was now humming softly while organizing his bedside table with the efficiency of someone moving into a new home. "Define complex." "Well," Dr. Vasquez said, glancing around at the still-watching medical staff, "let's just say that Nurse Kira Th appears to be taking this very seriously." "How seriously?" As if summoned by his question, Kira Th looked up from her organizational activities and smiled at him with an expression of such genuine warmth and happiness that Jake felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. "Do not concern yourself with details, mate," she said, her voice gentle but somehow final. "I will handle all necessary arrangements." "Arrangements," Jake said weakly. "What kind of arrangements?" "The important kind," Kira Th replied, returning to her work with the satisfied air of someone who had just solved a particularly challenging puzzle. Jake looked at Dr. Vasquez, who was now actively fighting back laughter. "Help," he said quietly. "Oh, this is going to be fun to watch," Dr. Vasquez murmured. "Don't worry, Jake. I'm sure it's all perfectly straightforward." Across the medical bay, one of the Zephyrian nurses made another congratulatory chirping noise, and Jake realized with growing horror that his simple attempt at humor had apparently just gotten him married to an alien nurse who was already rearranging his life with terrifying efficiency. And the most disturbing part? As he watched Kira Th work, noting the careful attention she paid to his comfort and the genuine concern in her violet eyes, he found himself thinking that there were definitely worse fates than accidentally marrying someone who cared about his bandages being perfectly aligned. Which was probably not a healthy thought to be having about his current situation. "This is fine," he told himself quietly. "This is a perfectly normal day in space." Kira Th looked up and smiled at him again, and Jake's treacherous brain noted that she had a really lovely smile. "Everything will be fine, mate," she assured him. "I will take excellent care of you." Jake closed his eyes and tried to pretend that the flutter in his chest was just a side effect of the pain medication. Jake woke up the next morning to find his breakfast had been upgraded from standard medical bay nutrition paste to what appeared to be a 5-course meal arranged with the precision of fine dining. The tray beside his bed held fruits he didn't recognize, arranged in patterns that seemed too artistic to be accidental, and a drink that smelled like cinnamon and starlight. "This seems excessive," he said to the empty medical bay, though he had to admit the mystery fruit was significantly better than anything he'd eaten in weeks. "Proper nutrition is essential for healing," Kira TH announced, appearing beside his bed with the silent efficiency that all medical staff seem to master. Your previous diet was inadequate for your new requirements. New requirements? Bonded individuals require enhanced nutritional support. The emotional stress of pair bonding creates additional metabolic demands. Jake paused with a piece of fruit halfway to his mouth. Emotional stress. The joy of finding one's mate, Kira TH explained seriously, is physiologically demanding. Your heart rate, neural activity, and cellular regeneration all accelerate during the bonding period. Nutrition must be adjusted accordingly. Right, Jake said slowly. The joy. Of course. Dr. Vasquez chose that moment to arrive, looking remarkably cheerful for someone dealing with what Jake assumed must be a complex diplomatic incident. Good morning, Jake. I see you're receiving the premium meal service. Apparently I'm emotionally stressed, Jake said. From all the joy. The mate bond joy is a well-documented phenomenon, Kira TH said, consulting her medical pad. Lieutenant Commander Harrison's biometric readings show classic symptoms: elevated heart rate when I'm present, increased neural activity during our interactions, and optimal healing response to my care. Dr. Vasquez raised an eyebrow. Optimal healing response? His recovery rate has improved by 38% since the bonding confirmation yesterday. Jake looked between them. Is that normal? Actually, Dr. Vasquez said, pulling up her own medical pad, it's remarkable. Your cellular regeneration has accelerated significantly. Burns that should take another week to heal are nearly closed. So accidentally getting married is good for my health? Apparently so, Dr. Vasquez said. Though we should probably discuss the accidentally married part. Yes, Jake said with feeling. Let's discuss that. Kira TH was rearranging his medical equipment with the focused attention of someone optimizing a workspace. Discussion is unnecessary. The bonding is complete and beneficial to both parties. Kira TH, Dr. Vasquez said gently, Lieutenant Commander Harrison may not fully understand Zephyrian bonding customs. Perhaps we should explain the situation. What situation? Kira TH asked, looking genuinely puzzled. He offered care acceptance in response to my protection offering. The ritual exchange is complete. Jake felt a headache building. I offered what in response to your what? Dr. Vasquez sat down in the chair beside his bed, her expression shifting to what Jake recognized as her explaining complex medical concepts to panicking patients mode. Jake, when Kira TH was adjusting your bandages yesterday, she was speaking in her native language. The words translate roughly to, will you accept my protection and care for the duration of your healing and beyond? She was asking me a question. In Zephyrian culture, medical care given with that level of attention and concern constitutes a formal protection offering. It's the first step in their bonding process. Jake looked at Kira TH, who was now organizing his medications with what he was beginning to recognize as distinctly possessive body language. And when I said, yes, dear. You provided formal acceptance of the protection offering and indicated readiness for pair bonding. In English. Zephyrians are remarkably good with cross-species communication. Intent matters more than specific language. Dr. Vasquez glanced at Kira TH, who was humming softly while she worked. The fact that you used an endearment term sealed the deal, so to speak. Jake rubbed his temples. So I accidentally agreed to marry her because I was trying to be polite. Not exactly marry, Dr. Vasquez said. Zephyrian pair bonding is more like committed partnership with legally binding medical proxy rights, shared resource allocation, and mutual care obligations. That sounds like marriage. With more paperwork. Kira TH looked up from her organizational activities. The paperwork is minimal. I have already filed the necessary forms with both human and Zephyrian authorities. You filed paperwork? Efficiency is important in medical settings, Kira TH said matter-of-factly. Delayed documentation can lead to confusion during emergencies. Jake stared at her. How much paperwork? Standard bonding documentation requires 14 forms across 3 bureaucratic levels. I completed them this morning before shift change. She's very thorough, Dr. Vasquez said, sounding impressed despite herself. I'm starting to notice that. Jake watched Kira Th add what appeared to be decorative flowers to his bedside table. Kira Th, can I ask you something? Of course, mate. Do you actually want to be bonded to me? Or is this just cultural obligation following an accidental ritual? Kira Th stopped arranging flowers and looked at him directly, her violet eyes serious. The ritual may have been accidental, but my feelings are not. You have been kind to other patients, respectful to medical staff, and patient with procedures. You make humor to reduce anxiety rather than complaint about discomfort. These are qualities I value in a potential mate. You've been evaluating me as potential mate material? I evaluate all unbonded individuals as potential mates, Kira Th said pragmatically. It is efficient use of social interaction time. Dr. Vasquez coughed, and Jake was fairly certain she was hiding laughter. Zephyrians are very practical about relationships. I'm learning that. Jake looked at Kira Th, who had returned to her flower arranging with the satisfied air of someone who had just provided a perfectly reasonable explanation. And you decided I was, mate-worthy? Your compassion-to-complaint ratio is excellent, Kira Th said seriously. Also, you have pleasant facial symmetry and your genetic markers suggest healthy offspring potential. She's very romantic, Dr. Vasquez said helpfully. I can see that. Jake found himself smiling despite the surreal nature of the conversation. Kira Th, what happens if I said this was all a misunderstanding? That I didn't mean to accept your protection offering? Kira Th's hands stilled on the flowers, and for a moment her expression looked almost vulnerable. Then I would be disappointed, but I would accept your decision. Forced bonding is harmful to both partners. But your biometric responses suggest you are not entirely opposed to the arrangement. She glanced at his medical monitors, which Jake suddenly realized had been tracking his heart rate throughout their entire conversation. Your stress indicators decrease when I am present, and your healing accelerates under my care. These are positive signs. Jake followed her gaze to the monitors, noting that his heart rate was indeed steady and his other vital signs looked better than they had in weeks. So I'm responding well to you medically. Among other ways. What other ways? Kira Th smiled, and Jake's traitorous heart rate monitor chose that moment to spike. That way. Dr. Vasquez stood up, clearly deciding this was a good time to make an exit. I'll leave you two to discuss the situation. Jake, remember that you have options. The bonding can be dissolved if both parties agree. Both parties, Jake repeated. Both parties, Kira Th confirmed. Though I hope you will consider the benefits of our arrangement before making any hasty decisions. After Dr. Vasquez left, Jake and Kira Th sat in comfortable silence, the medical bay's ambient sounds filling the space between them. Kira Th continued organizing his space with quiet efficiency, and Jake found himself watching her work with growing appreciation for her careful attention to detail. Can I ask another question? He said eventually. Always. Are you happy about this bonding? Or just satisfied with the logical efficiency of it? Kira Th paused in her work, considering the question with the same seriousness she brought to everything else. I am pleased. You are kind and intelligent, and your humor makes difficult situations more manageable. These are qualities that would make for a pleasant lifelong partnership. Lifelong. Zephyrian bondings are intended to be permanent, she said calmly. Though dissolution is possible if both parties become incompatible. Jake processed this information while watching her add what appeared to be a small crystal sculpture to his increasingly personalized bedside area. You know, when I woke up yesterday, I wasn't planning on making any major life decisions. The best decisions are often unexpected, Kira Th said. Like finding your perfect mate while changing bandages. Is that what happened? She looked at him directly, her expression soft but determined. I believe so. But I am willing to wait for you to reach the same conclusion. Jake's heart rate monitor betrayed him again, and this time Kira Th's smile was distinctly satisfied. Jake thought his situation couldn't get more complicated until Kira Th announced, with her characteristic calm efficiency, that her family had arrived for the mate verification ceremony. Your family is here? Jake asked, watching through the medical bay's viewport as a sleek Zephyrian transport ship docked with the Aurora's Grace. On the ship? Right now. Standard protocol requires family confirmation of bonding within 72 hours, Kira Th explained, arranging what appeared to be ceremonial cloths around his medical bed. I sent word yesterday after completing the paperwork. You invited your entire family to verify that we're properly mated? Not my entire family. Only immediate relatives and clan elders. Kira Th paused in her preparations. Approximately 15 individuals. Jake felt the universe tilt again. 15 people are coming to inspect our relationship. To celebrate our bonding, Kira Th corrected gently. Though verification is part of the ceremony. Dr. Vasquez appeared at his bedside with the expression of someone delivering either very good news or a terminal diagnosis. Jake, I've been reviewing Zephyrian cultural protocols. The mate verification ceremony is extensive. Define extensive. 3-day celebration involving gift exchanges, compatibility demonstrations, and formal acceptance by the family unit. Jake looked at Kira Th, who was now draping what looked like silk in colors that shouldn't exist around his medical equipment. 3 days. It is an important milestone, Kira Th said seriously. The bonding of family members affects the entire clan structure. Proper verification ensures harmony and prevents future conflicts. What if they don't approve of me? Then the bonding would be considered invalid and formal dissolution would be required. Kira Th's tone remained matter-of-fact, but Jake noticed her hands had stilled on the ceremonial arrangements. However, my family trusts my judgment in mate selection. Right. No pressure then. The medical bay doors hissed open, and Jake's first thought was that Zephyrian families apparently traveled with the organizational efficiency of military units. 15 individuals filed in with the kind of coordinated precision that suggested this was a well-practiced ritual, each carrying what appeared to be gifts wrapped in the same impossible colored fabric Kira Th had been using. Honored family, Kira Th said, her voice taking on a formal cadence Jake hadn't heard before, I present my chosen mate, Lieutenant Commander Jake Harrison of the human vessel Aurora's Grace. Jake found himself the center of attention for 15 pairs of violet eyes, each studying him with the intensity of scientists examining a new species. Which, he realized, was probably exactly what they were doing. Greetings, potential son of Bond, said an older Zephyrian with silver threading through her blue hair and the kind of bearing that suggested natural authority. I am Vera Th, clan matriarch and mother to Kira Th. We have come to witness the verification of your bonding. It's an honor to meet you, Jake said, attempting to sit up straighter in his medical bed and immediately regretting it as various healing injuries reminded him of their existence. Remain comfortable, Vera Th said, her voice warming slightly. The injured mate takes precedence over ceremony. Kira Th has reported that your healing progresses well under her care. She's been very attentive, Jake said, glancing at Kira Th, who was practically glowing with pride. Excellent. Proper mate care is essential for bonding success. Vera Th gestured to the other family members, who began arranging their gifts around his bed in what seemed like predetermined positions. We have brought traditional offerings for the verification ceremony. Jake watched nervously as the gifts were unveiled, crystals that hummed with their own internal light, fabrics that seemed to shift color depending on viewing angle, and what appeared to be a collection of plants that definitely hadn't evolved on any planet he knew about. These are beautiful, he said honestly. Though I should mention I don't have any gifts to offer in return. The mate gift is not required during verification, explained another family member, a younger Zephyrian who Jake assumed was one of Kira Th's siblings. Your presence and willingness to undergo ceremony is sufficient offering. My willingness, Jake repeated. Right. Kira Th moved to stand beside his bed, her hand coming to rest lightly on his shoulder in a gesture that felt both possessive and protective. The verification consists of 3 elements: gift-giving, story-sharing, and compatibility demonstration. Compatibility demonstration. Simple interaction observation, Verity H explained. We watch how you respond to each other, evaluate communication patterns, assess mutual care behaviors. You're going to watch us interact. For 3 days, confirmed another family member cheerfully. Very thorough observation ensures accurate compatibility assessment. Jake looked around at the 15 expectant faces surrounding his medical bed and felt a familiar flutter of panic. This is a lot of attention. You will adapt, Kira Th said confidently. Humans are remarkably social creatures. My research indicates you respond well to group acceptance and familial support. Your research? I have studied human bonding customs extensively since our accidental pairing, Kira Th said matter-of-factly. Preparation is important for successful cross-species relationships. Verity H made an approving sound. Excellent initiative. Thorough research demonstrates commitment to bonding success. I'm starting to understand where Kira Th gets her organizational skills, Jake said, which earned him what sounded like amused chirping from several family members. Intelligence and efficiency are value traits in our family line, Verity H said with obvious pride. Kira Th has chosen well if you appreciate these qualities. I'm definitely learning to appreciate them, Jake said, watching Kira Th beam at the compliment. The story-sharing portion of the ceremony turned out to be exactly what it sounded like. Each family member took turns telling stories about Kira Th's childhood, achievements, and what they considered her most mate-worthy qualities. Jake learned that she had been organizing her siblings' lives since she was 6, had graduated top of her medical class, and had once nursed an injured space whale back to health using improvised equipment and stubborn determination. Your turn, Verity H announced after the last story concluded. Tell us of your own worthiness as mate for our daughter. Jake felt 15 pairs of expectant eyes focusing on him and realized this was possibly the most important job interview of his life. I'm not sure I know how to prove worthiness for someone like Kira Th. Begin with your qualifications, suggested one of the siblings helpfully. Well, Jake said slowly, I'm a communications officer, so I'm good at listening and translating between different groups. I try to treat people with respect regardless of their background. And I apparently heal faster when Kira Th takes care of me, which seems like a useful trait in a mate. Practical benefits are important, Verity H agreed. What of emotional compatibility? Jake looked at Kira Th, who was watching him with an expression of encouraging expectation. She makes me laugh, even when I'm worried about accidentally starting an interspecies incident. She cares about details I wouldn't notice, and she approaches everything with this amazing combination of competence and genuine concern for people's well-being. I've never met anyone quite like her. The approving chirping sounds increased, and Jake noticed Kira Th's hand tighten slightly on his shoulder. And your intentions toward our daughter? Verity H asked, her tone becoming more serious. Jake realized this was the crucial moment, the point where he either committed to this impossible situation or found a way to gracefully extract himself from what had become a very public relationship evaluation. He looked around at Kira Th's family, noting their obvious affection for her, their careful attention to his comfort despite his status as a potential outsider, and their willingness to accept a human into their close-knit clan structure. Then he looked at Kira Th herself, with her efficient tenderness and her determination to take care of everyone around her, and felt something settle into place in his chest. My intentions, he said carefully, are to do everything I can to make her happy, for as long as she'll let me try. The silence that followed was filled with what Jake was learning to recognize as the Zephyrian equivalent of satisfied approval. Acceptable answer, Verity H announced. We will proceed with the compatibility demonstrations. What do those involve? Jake asked. Daily life simulation, Kira TH explained. Shared meals, collaborative problem solving, conflict resolution scenarios. Conflict resolution scenarios. We will present you with hypothetical disagreements and observe how you navigate them together, Vera TH said. Successful long-term bonding requires effective communication during stress. Jake looked at the 15 family members who were apparently planning to spend the next 3 days testing his relationship skills, then at Kira TH, who was watching him with an expression of hopeful determination. Well, he said finally, I suppose if I'm going to accidentally get married, I might as well do it properly. The chorus of approving chirps that followed suggested he'd given the right answer. The final day of the mate verification ceremony arrived with Jake realizing that somewhere between the gift exchanges, family stories, and compatibility demonstrations, he'd stopped thinking of his situation as an accident and started thinking of it as a possibility. The final verification requires individual choice confirmation, Vera TH announced, standing before Jake's medical bed with the formal bearing of someone conducting an important ritual. Both potential mates must declare their intentions before the assembled family. Jake looked around the medical bay, which had been transformed over 3 days into something resembling a ceremonial hall. Zephyrian fabrics draped the walls, the family's gifts created a small shrine around his bed, and the scent of alien flowers filled the air with something like hope and starlight. Individual choice confirmation, he repeated. That sounds official. It is the most important part of the ceremony, Kira TH said, her usual confident efficiency replaced by something that looked suspiciously like nervousness. The moment where both parties choose freely, without cultural pressure or obligation. What happens if one of us chooses differently than expected? Then the bonding is dissolved with honor, and both parties are free to pursue other partnerships, Vera TH explained. No shame attaches to honest choice. Jake noticed that Kira TH's hands were clasped tightly in her lap, and her pointed ears had drooped slightly. And if we both choose to continue the bonding? Then you become formally mated according to both human and Zephyrian law, Vera TH said. With all the rights, responsibilities, and benefits thereof. Dr. Vasquez, who had been observing the ceremonies with the fascinated attention of someone witnessing anthropological history, stepped forward. Jake, before you make any decisions, I should mention that your medical discharge was approved this morning. You're free to return to your regular duties. My regular duties, Jake said slowly. On a different ship, I assume. The Aurora's Grace is scheduled to return to Earth for resupply. Your new assignment would likely be at a communications station somewhere in the inner colonies. Jake felt something twist in his chest at the thought of leaving Kira TH behind, returning to the lonely routine of translating messages and avoiding personal connections. 3 days ago, that life had seemed perfectly adequate. Now it felt like voluntarily entering solitary confinement. And if I choose to continue the bonding? Then your assignment could be transferred to one of the joint human-Zephyrian facilities, Dr. Vasquez said. There's a new medical station being established in the neutral zone. They need communications officers with xenolinguistic experience. Xenolinguistic experience? You've spent 3 days learning to communicate with an entirely different species, Dr. Vasquez pointed out. That's more practical xenolinguistics training than most people get in years of study. Kira TH looked up hopefully. The medical station would allow us to work together. They need both human and Zephyrian medical staff. You'd want to work together. I would want to do everything together, Kira TH said simply. That is the point of bonding. Vera TH cleared her throat gently. The ceremony requires individual declarations. Kira TH, as the one who initiated the bonding offer, you will speak first. Kira TH stood, her movements precise but somehow vulnerable. 3 days ago, I offered protection and care to an injured human who showed kindness to others and patience with medical procedures. I expected a simple healing process. Instead, I found someone who appreciates efficiency without demanding perfection, who makes humor from difficulty without diminishing its importance, and who treats my family with respect despite their tendency to overwhelm outsiders with attention. Several family members chirped in what Jake had learned was amusement. Lieutenant Commander Jake Harrison, Kira TH continued, her voice growing stronger, I choose to continue our bonding not because of cultural obligation or accidental ritual, but because you have become someone I cannot imagine my life without. I choose you freely, with full knowledge of your flaws, your strengths, and your tendency to panic about paperwork. I do not panic about paperwork, Jake protested automatically, which earned him more chirping from the assembled family. Do you wish to respond to Kira TH's declaration? Vera TH asked. Jake looked at Kira TH, standing beside his bed in her medical uniform with ceremonial ribbons woven through her silver-blue hair, surrounded by a family who had spent 3 days trying to determine if he was worthy of their daughter's attention. He thought about returning to Earth, to the quiet routine of his previous life, to conversations limited to professional necessity and plants that couldn't talk back. Then he thought about morning breakfasts arranged like works of art, about someone who noticed when his pain levels increased before he did, about the way Kira TH's eyes lit up when she explained Zephyrian medical techniques or shared stories about her family. I have a confession, he said finally. I knew yesterday that I wanted to continue the bonding. Yesterday? Kira TH asked, her ears perking up with interest. When your brother told the story about how you organized a rescue operation for those stranded miners, even though it wasn't your responsibility and you had to convince 6 different bureaucrats to approve the mission. Jake smiled at the memory. The way your whole family lit up with pride when they talked about your determination to help people, regardless of protocol or convenience. That's when I realized I didn't just appreciate your efficiency, I was falling for your heart. The medical bay went very quiet. But I needed to be sure, Jake continued, that my choice was based on genuine feelings, not just gratitude for excellent medical care or fear of disappointing 15 very intimidating family members. Are we intimidating? Asked one of Kira TH's cousins, sounding pleased. Terrifying, Jake confirmed. In the most supportive way possible. And your choice? Vera TH prompted gently. Jake looked directly at Kira TH, noting the hopeful tension in her shoulders, the way her hands had clenched into fists, the careful control she was maintaining over her expression. Kira TH, he said, I choose to continue our bonding. Not because of accidental ritual or cultural pressure, but because 3 days of being cared for by you has shown me what partnership actually looks like. I choose you freely, with full knowledge that you'll probably organize my entire life and I'll probably love every minute of it. The cheer that went up from the assembled family was loud enough to bring Dr. Vasquez running back into the medical bay, followed by several human crew members who wanted to know if there was an emergency. No emergency, Vera TH announced with satisfaction. Only a successful bonding verification. So you're officially married now? Dr. Vasquez asked. Officially bonded, Kira TH corrected, moving to sit on the edge of Jake's medical bed and taking his hand in hers. Though the practical effect is similar. Congratulations, Dr. Vasquez said warmly. I'll start the paperwork for your assignment transfer. More paperwork, Jake said with mock resignation. I will handle the paperwork, Kira TH assured him. I have become quite efficient at human bureaucratic procedures. See? Jake said to her family. This is why the bonding works. She handles paperwork, I provide entertainment value. A perfectly balanced partnership, Vera TH agreed. We approve. 6 months later, Jake stood in the observation deck of Medical Station Harmony, watching ships from a dozen different species dock at the facility's ports. His xenolinguistics work had expanded from simple translation to helping establish communication protocols between multiple alien species, and he discovered that accidentally getting married had been the best career move of his life. The Centaurian delegation has arrived, Kira TH announced, joining him at the viewport. They're requesting a communications officer who can handle their tonal language variations. That would be me, Jake said, putting his arm around his wife's waist. Though I should warn them that my understanding of tonal languages comes entirely from 3 months of trying to figure out when you're being sarcastic. I am never sarcastic, Kira TH said with perfect seriousness. See? Like that. That right there. She smiled and leaned into his embrace, and Jake marveled at how natural it felt to have someone who understood his humor, appreciated his work, and occasionally brought him fruit arranged in geometric patterns because she thought it would improve his productivity. Any regrets about the accidental bonding? Kira Th asked. Only that I waited so long to say, yes, dear, to someone worth saying it to. Very romantic, she said approvingly. Almost as romantic as optimal cellular regeneration rates. You say the sweetest things. Outside the viewport, the stars stretched endlessly in all directions, full of possibilities neither of them had imagined when a simple case of mistaken directions had changed both their lives. And somewhere in their shared quarters, a collection of earth plants thrived under Kira Th's methodical care, proof that sometimes the best things in life happen entirely by accident. Though the paperwork, Jake had learned, was always intentional.